Hey, everybody, welcome to Contra Talk. My name is Richard Henry, and we've got another episode for you right now with a great guest. He is a businessman. He's owned a number of different businesses, small time business owner, but he makes money as a tool to also be able to bless others as well. He's a Christian, he's a husband and a father of two boys who he's also passed that knowledge on, and they've had a number of businesses, even though they're both under 20 years old. They've make money for the glory of God, use it for their own means, as well as blessing other people using it as a tool. And so this is a really good conversation. I hope it will be helpful to kind of demystify some things and help someone along the way. All right. Hope you enjoy it. My guest today is Jospeh Huss. He's a husband and a father. He's a businessman. We actually met at the Conservative Baptist Network conference back in April. It was down in Memphis, Tennessee, and he had a booth there with one of his companies. He owns a couple companies, and we're going to be talking about business today, Christian entrepreneurship, and just being in this world, but working and serving Christ. How you doing today, Joe? Welcome.
I'm doing great. I'm doing great, Richard. Thank you so much for having me on the show. It was such a pleasure to meet you back in, I think you said it was April. It seems like so long ago.
Late April, yeah.
Yeah. It was pleasure to meet you down there and just to fellowship with you, just right out in front of our one of our coffee booths. So that was great.
I know. I was there like half the time. There was other stuff going on. So
yeah, that's okay.
Well,
yeah,
tell us a little bit about yourself. Your wife.
Sure.
You've got two sons. Is that right? They were working the booth with you guys. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. How you came to Christ and kind of your desire to be a faithful, good businessman in this world for Christ.
Yeah. So I'll try to keep the story as short as I can and as concise as I can. But I got saved when I was about 17, 18 years old, and a day I'll never forget. Just appreciated that. I wasn't serving the Lord right after that. Unfortunately, I went to school for criminal justice for a few years. Felt like that was what God had for me personally, and throughout that time, the Lord just really changed, my heart from kind of criminal justice and that kind of public service to ministry. And to be honest with you, Richard, I didn't really want to be a pastor. I just wanted to get closer to God. And that really is my testimony. I had no aspiration at all to be a pastor or a missionary or a church worker. I want to be involved in ministry, but just I had no real specific and goal in mind in terms of my vocation. I just said, hey, man, I just want to get closer to God. I love the Lord. And how can I do that in kind of a larger way? And Bible college is what I did. So I went to Bible college, worked at a couple different churches, one assistant pastor, two senior pastors, two churches where I was a senior pastor. So I guess aggregately, it was probably about 15 years total, maybe a little bit less. But towards the end of I want to say it was 2020, I just said to my wife and some others, and some things kind of came up in the ministry, and I said, you know what, I think I'm done, but God had always impressed on me over the years. I probably had 3-4 businesses that I had started and run, sold even, and with my family. And I said, I really have this. I have this heart, probably 4 years to actually resigning the ministry, about there's got to be a way to be able to support ministry in it financially. We had people come into our ministry, and $100 a week was really life changing. I mean, I know it sounds really pathetic, but in a small ministry, $100 a week is, that's $5,200 a year. I mean, that pays some bills. And there'd be people who would come in who would give me $150 a week in the ministry, and that was just, again, blew my mind. And $200 a week, and we had people even come in and even giving $250 a week, and it's just crazy. And I knew what it felt like to me. And as a young pastor, I just said, man, there's a way that we can actually do something significant, and we can, financially. And I looked to my wife one night. I was scrolling Facebook, and I just said, we could do anything. We could do anything under the sun. I've got this in me.
Yeah.
I said we could start a coffee company. I said, there's a coffee shop down the street, does $1 million a year. I said, we could start a coffee company and literally be generous with literally every cup every cup of Joe. I said it would be a generous cup of Joe. It'd be a generous Joe. It could be generous Joes. And it just I'm
Nice.
like, that's it. So that was
Yeah.
about four at this time, maybe almost 5 years ago.
Hmm.
And so that was kind of the starting point, kind of the launching pad for more business related activities. But the coffee was really just a way that it's so ubiquitous, and it's a 180 billion dollar industry. And I thought, man, if
Wow.
I could just have a fraction of that to give away to help ministries and ministry related workers, et cetera, I think that would be fun,
Yeah.
because I know what it felt like to me. It's more blessed to give than it is to receive. And I was the recipient of many gifts. And I thought, man, if I feel this good, I just want to be the one with a company that is able to kind of the underwriter or the benefactor,
Yeah.
and God, and that's kind of where that started for the coffee company. So we've got several other companies that we own at this point in time. We're adding more companies underneath Growth Ventures, and yeah, we're just having a blast, and family owned. We're family owned. My kids work with me. My wife works with me, and we got a great team of people, dozens of people that work with us, and it's really we're just living the proverbial dream.
No, that's good. I love Luke 16, where Christ says, if you're faithful in little, you're going to be faithful in much, and of course, the parable of the talents, and there's a lot of things. Money is one of those. I don't know. There's the more I pay attention and study, and I mean, I don't say I'm a history guy, but that's again, I appreciate history, trying to understand what's going on both in recent history and far back. And you look at the last 100 years with a plenary of things within the church and the culture, and there's just been a lot of failure, I think.
Yeah, yeah,
And one of those things is even with money. And you
yeah,
think, well, you just want to make money for money's sake, or you just want to be greedy, or you just want to be this, or money is the root of all evil. And it's like,
yeah,
well, money is a
yeah,
root of all kinds of evil. So there's actually some qualifiers in there that are actually in the text that aren't always in the English. And so we kind of have these assumptions that all of a sudden money's bad. And we'll get to your companies in a moment. We'll pull up a couple of websites. But you said something in person months ago when we met that, what problem in my life couldn't be solved by money? Now you say, besides spiritual, of course. And I think a
right,
lot
right,
of people hear that and they instantly run to, you're Joel Osteen. You're just this. Oh, your health, wealth, prosperity, Creflo Dollar, Benny Hinn. You're just, Kenneth Copeland. And people freak out as if I and you don't have families to support and feed,
yeah,
mortgage, a cell phone. I'm on a computer right now. I'm paying for my internet. I
yeah,
just drank some coffee that I purchased at the grocery store a couple days ago with water that comes through my pipes that I then get charged by my city to then
that's right,
filter. And I mean, I have shoes on, and I mean, all clothes, like
yeah,
all these things. We need money, and money is just this tool, like anything
yeah,
else, like a
that's
hammer,
right,
for example.
yep,
It can be used for great good or great gruesome harm. And so, why don't you flesh out that kind of statement that you
yeah,
said?
yeah.
What problem is there that can't be solved with more money?
Yeah, well, first of all, Solomon said, "Money answereth all things." Okay, and so 3 weeks ago, I was in San Francisco, San Jose area, and had to. I bumped up my schedule by a day. To be quite honest, I don't know if you knew this or not. If you followed me on Facebook at all, but I had acute appendicitis, and
Oh,
I had to
oh
have an
no.
emergency appendectomy. And
Wow.
I should have. I honestly, by my estimation, I should have died in Wyoming, because I was traveling back, and my point of reference was like I was going to stop at a rest area in Wyoming, and by God's good grace, I bumped up the schedule. I walked in the door Wednesday night right before church, and within an hour and a half, I mean, I was in the ER and that whole thing.
Wow.
Here's what I'm saying. I got that bill the other day, and by God's grace, I have insurance, but it was almost $40,000
Oh,
for a 15-minute procedure. Um, a lot of things are answered with money. We can't. I mean, I can't remember who it was that said, who asked the question, how much ministry can be done with $100? And to
mm,
which the reply was $100 worth. Now we know that when little is much, God is in it, and God is a multiplier. I get that. I'm not taking out of. I don't want to. I don't want to minimize God's ability to multiply loaves and fishes, and He does that, and He does
yeah.
that. Okay, I'm not at all minimizing that, but God has given us the tools. He's given us the work ethic, the the resources from that to be able to supply the needs for that money as a resource to fulfill the needs of others. And
Hmm.
God uses people. Now he doesn't need us. He doesn't need us. He could just boom. If we don't speak, the rocks will cry out. Right? I mean, we know that
Right.
God just chooses to use us. He chooses to use the systems that He's created to fulfill some of those. He doesn't need doctors,
Hmm.
but He chooses to use doctors. Right? And so I think when I look at the use of money. Someone will ask me, say, is it just about the money? And I, yeah, I mean, right now in my life, it
Yeah.
really is. And I say, let me ask you, do you go to work? Do you go to work on Monday? Well, yeah. Why? Well, because I have to. And I say, and why?
Yeah.
And they say, well, because for the paycheck. And I said, so is it all about the money? And
Yeah.
the answer is,
Yeah.
it's
No doubt. Most
yes.
people wouldn't do their job if it was for free, right? I mean,
Yeah, it
it's just
is
the
about the
reality of it.
money. It is about the.
Yeah.
So for us,
It's so true. Just
you know,
turn it on its head.
well, it's true though. I mean, and so for us, we look at this as a necessity,
Hmm.
but we also look at God as the multiplier of that tool, and say, hey, if we could hire Christian workers, if we can hire people who can help multiply that, and then give it to people who then multiply the money on the far end of it, on the back end of it, then it's just this. It has this universal multiplier of God and using Christian workers, and I
Yeah.
think it's really high time uh, that we use that we try to be creative in our methods. How can we be creative in our methods where that we can somehow expand God's kingdom using God's workers in within God's purpose and framework, and then continue just to give. And it's a
Yeah.
multiplier. God does that. You know,
Yeah.
God does that.
No, that's really good. Um, yeah, I mean, it is all about the money. I mean, and obviously, you know, people can take that in 10 different ways, but
Absolutely, and they do. By the way, they do.
right.
They take it and they twist it, and they make people who are trying to supply the resources for others. They make those people look like the bad guy because they're out there. I'm not trying to get rich. The Bible says,
Yeah.
"Labor not to be rich, cease from thine own wisdom." It's not about getting rich. Is it about the money? Yes, because money's the tool we use to do God's work, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and from the basic, mom staying home, changing diapers, making meals, doing regular stuff where the husband generally historically, right, leaves and does the thing, whether that's in the field or the shop or an hour away or across the country like you sometimes, that this is how God set it up. Now, again, the culture chafes against that. Are you saying women, should be in the house? Well, that's how God designs it. But that means then men shouldn't be. And if there's too much, togetherness in the house, men. I mean, there's my wife and I just off the cuff. We have a little booklet thing, and it's like thoughts for young men and women or something like that, and it's like 100 years old. And so much of the wisdom is still
Yeah,
prescient, and yet it talks about the husband having don't just fiddle around, don't wander, don't be in your wife's way. Has a more poetic way of writing, of course. But it's one of those like
yeah,
I'm on vacation from the church I pastor. I haven't preached last week, or I won't be preaching this Sunday. But it's nice, but at the same time, I have to be busy. I'm doing this right now. I'm outside working on the yard yesterday, and when I'm around too much, this is my wife's domain. I actually call her, the VP of operations in the sense that
yeah.
she's the day to day. I'm big picture CEO. She's the VP of operations, both vital, both important, both made in
That's right.
God's image. But she has
Yeah,
a role and I have a role. And something that even as Christians, I would implore everyone listening to my voice and yours, this is how God has made it. Don't chafe against that. Don't believe second wave feminism. And, now we're into the fourth wave of, what is a woman? We don't even know. Men can be better
yeah,
women than
right.
women. And so it's like
Yeah, right.
all that with money. Okay, so how do we do this?
Yeah,
Because Nike, Apple, Microsoft, UPS, FedEx, all these massive conglomerate companies, they have the money. They do these things, and we just think they're neutral. I think that's the thing. This myth of neutrality. We
mm,
think,
that's
well,
right.
Apple's just a neutral company. Target pushes transgenderism. Sure, they had men in their bathrooms and changing rooms 5, 6 years ago. Sure, they were supporting LGBT stuff and gay marriage 10, 12 years ago. But it's just Target. It's just a thing, and it's like, what if you bought products from a Christian company that was a little bit
That's
more
right.
maybe, but the quality's better, and they're not supporting companies who hate you? right? And we see this with more and more cancel culture, even if they're not Christians, they're just conservative. And anyway, so let's pull up a couple of your websites here. Tell us about this one first. Growth Reading Center. What is Growth Reading Center?
Yeah, so Growth Reading Center is a dyslexia specific online program. And
Okay.
so we hire tutors really all across the country, most of them Bible college students, Christian workers, pastors' wives. We've got people who are uh, professors and teachers at Bible colleges. It's our way of helping Christian workers. So we pay them well. We start everybody at a great. I believe it's way above almost twice as much as the uh, standard, I guess. But we pay the tutors well. We
Hmm.
pay we pay all of our folks well. We give great. There's great hours, and there are. I don't know. It's I don't want to say it's flexible, but it's flexible for a Bible college student coming in making 20, 25 bucks an hour when they could be at, this grocery store making 11. I think we're trying to be a blessing. Someone did it for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's interesting, Richard, when I went to Bible college, and I thank the Lord for his goodness and his provision throughout Bible college. I had people in my life that they overpaid me.
Hmm.
They paid me to work on projects that they made no money on. And so it was people were just gratuitous
Yeah.
to almost to a fault. And we just I want to reciprocate that. You know what I mean? Like
No,
God
it's
did it for
wonderful.
me. I want to do it for others on a massive scale. So this is a program we help kids with dyslexia learn how to read. We're actually piloting other programs as well. So we're in curriculum development for a comprehension course, for our own comprehension course, for a
Yeah.
math curriculum. 25% of the people call us for math, not just reading. But this is uh, it's a very scripted program. So what we do is we try to find the right talent. We're recruiters, right? So we
Okay.
go out and we recruit the talent, the people who have the great attitude, who have just a great disposition about them, and who have a great need. And then we say, hey, listen, we want to hire you for this position,
Yeah.
and they can. It's all through Zoom, So we do screen sharing screen sharing applications. Then the student is clicking and dragging, highlighting, underlining, zooming in, doing all these things, moving tiles. And so it works well for the tutor. It works well for the parent.
Yeah.
The student learns. Everybody wins. We're able to accumulate more money, right? Because it's all about the money.
Right.
And then we're able to give generously with that, as well. So
Yeah.
for us, this is just one of the methods that we've chosen to use, and I would say probably thus far one of our most successful methods in terms of actually employing people to do work, but they're Christian workers.
Right.
They're Christian workers,
Right.
and I have to be very careful about that, apparently, But at the same time, we do the recruiting,
Yeah.
and we're not hiring, we're recruiting. So
Hmm.
there's not like a help wanted sign out there. We have people. I have 10 people call us a day, say, uh, 10 people a day call us and say, hey, are you hiring? I say, we only recruit,
Yeah.
our people. We don't have any help wanted. There's no positions available. We're always hiring great talent,
Yeah.
but we don't recruit, but we don't hire the same way, and
Hmm.
and so our heart really is to just love on these Christian workers. I tell people we are like the Chick-fil-A of online programs, and we're one of the
That's
largest
great.
in the country,
Wow.
and we're up almost 1,000% from where we were last year.
Wow.
Almost 1,000% revenue.
Wow. That's
Yeah, it's just
amazing.
it's unbelievable. I mean,
Yeah.
it's unbelievable. It's God. It's
Yeah.
God. Only God does this, right? And so
Wow.
that's one of the
That's great.
companies that we really enjoy working with. It's kind of our it's our main thrust, I would say, during certain times of year.
Yeah.
This is one of those times of year.
Yeah. We've got Generous Joe's. This is the other one, that the booth that you all were at.
Yeah,
Talk about Generous Joe's and what you guys are doing there.
yeah. So the impetus of Generous Joe's was to create money. Literally, is it about the money? Well, it sure isn't about the coffee. I mean, I like coffee, bro, but
Yeah.
I want stacks of dollars that I can hand out to people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so for us, this is the way that we just created the funds. Because I tell people, I say, when the music stops, everybody's got to find a chair.
Hmm.
and we can give everything away and then we're done. But this is how we just kind of keep that cycle of philanthropy, just kind of the wheels turning, right? We just got to
Yeah.
keep putting money into the bucket, and then figure out who we're going to dispense that bucket of funds to, and when we're going to do that.
Hmm.
So yeah, this is I don't want to say the pride and joy, but this is kind of a long term our heart for supporting people who are like minded.
Yeah. No, that's what struck me. I mean, you've got who we are: pro-life, protecting the life of the unborn; pro-Israel, pro-family, pro-military, pro-law enforcement. People support people, projects, policies, and that's something again I want to instill in people listening, and people might already agree with me who watch this channel and listen, whatever. But your pastor, your mom, your friend, whatever, who still think things are neutral, who still think Procter and Gamble or Heinz Kraft or Unilever or some of these
Yeah,
massive food companies. These are all food companies. Nestle. All these people hate us. They don't. They, at least they hate.
it's
They
true.
hate our. They hate our worldview and our policy. They're going to take our money, just like you'd happily take, an
That's right.
atheist money or
That's right.
or a radical Marxist money or something like that for a cup of coffee. And you're going to use that money and say, we're going to support pregnancy centers. We're going to support a mom
That's
who
right.
needs who horrible situation, comes, gets pregnant, et cetera, et cetera. Or we're going to say, no, we need law and order. We need to have law enforcement. We need to have military, not domineering, but God has laws and rules, and He has the sword for Romans 13, right? You're a minister or a deacon to protect, to serve the greater good, as it were. And we don't. Nobody wants chaos. Nobody, except
That's
for the
right.
very, very top upper echelon of people. The tiny, tiny
Hmm.
fraction. And I think
Yeah.
personally, that's why we see so much division. They want us to think that men can't have babies. Actually, men can have babies. Because it's a trans man, and it's like you
That's
can't say
right.
anything about abortion because you're a man, but if you're a trans man, you're really a woman, but you're this, you can't. And it's like, wait, and we argue, in the church and the culture and the Democratic, Republican parties, and all it is dividing. And if we're
Mhm.
divided, we're not unified and we're not seeing clearly. And with that, there's a lot of money that gets exchanged. I mean, just BLM, Black Lives Matter, hundreds of uh, thousands, if not, I think it's millions of dollars. I don't know if you saw this recently, where all that stuff kind of came up, how much money they
Yeah.
took in. And so much of
That's
it was
right.
spent on escorts, strip clubs, sex chat rooms, all this stuff.
Yep.
And you go to these places, even where George Floyd was murdered, or where I'm in Louisville or was in Louisville, Breonna Taylor. Are these neighborhoods better? Are these people with more melanin in this community better than they were a
Yeah.
couple years ago? No, they're worse. It's actually
That's
riots
right.
galore through all the big
That's right.
cities. And it's like, and these people are taking your money, even probably some Christians. Oh, I want to support, racism. Okay, that's bad. That's bad. I want to support this group. And it's like, but you're not even supporting those things. It's just they're charlatans, right? And it's a money laundering front,
Yeah.
basically. uh,
Yeah.
and so talk a little bit more about Generous Joe's. If somebody were to go here, shopgenerousjoes.com, I'd encourage
Sure.
everybody to go there. You can get
Amen.
it's a coffee subscription, correct?
Yeah, you can do either or. Our
Okay.
coffee subscription is a kind of that faithful base of people who really support us. But we have people who just buy singles or 5 pounds or whatever, one off. We have that happen,
Yeah.
frequently. But I think the base is what we're trying to do. Because again, in terms of planning your giving,
Hmm.
we're trying to create a system to actually capture the cash and then find ways to disperse it on a kind of like on a timeline, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Where it's not just sporadic. And right
Sure.
now, that's what it is. It's semi-sporadic. Now, over the next few years, Lord willing, we'll have enough base where it's like, hey, we support these ministries, and we're able to give on a continual basis
Hmm.
to XYZ ministry. Just because, well, when I was down in boy, where was that? At the Conservative Baptist Network with, and then the
Memphis.
one,
Yeah.
yeah, in Memphis. There you go. And when I was in Memphis, I was at another event, and up until recently, we supported him for $500 a month every month for
Yeah.
almost a year, more than a year probably. And I just love the guy, and honestly, he's done probably more for me than anybody. But
Who
we're
was
able to
this? I'm
support
sorry.
him. This was Chris Hughes.
Okay.
Chris Hughes.
Okay.
Did you meet him at all or no?
I don't think so. No, I don't believe so.
I tell you, one of the greatest guys I think on the planet. I love this guy with all my heart. I'm just a super guy,
Yeah.
and he's always bragging about us, and he's always trying to promote us, And so we were there for him. But so our hope is to, the more subscriptions we get, the bigger the pot comes, the more we can just kind of keep continually dispensing that those resources, kind of indefinitely, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Again, this is just how we keep the music going.
Yeah. Um, dollar for dollar, it's probably on this website, so people can check it out, shopgenerousjoes.com. And then the other website, of course, was growthreadingcenter.com as well.
Yeah,
But for Generous Joe specifically, I forget the ratio, you know it. If somebody buys a subscription, they do coffee subscription, I like medium
sure.
roast, sounds good, and
Amen.
give me one every 2 weeks. How much of that $14.99 per bag is going into just giving that money back to pro life causes and other just
Other work.
other gospel Christian normal common sense work?
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, this is kind of the fun part. So, when we started last year, we put $120,000 into the company. So, it was out of our family pocket. We reached into our pocket.
Yeah.
We laid out money for XYZ, right? So, branding, coffee, bags, see all this stuff, right? 120 grand. And that's the travel going to and from events to try to write checks. We put
Yeah.
120 grand in.
Wow.
I think I reimbursed myself maybe 20 grand. So the company technically still owes our family 100,000, but
Hmm.
we don't really care about that. We
Yeah.
really don't care about that. But on top of that, usually you would want to pay that back before you start writing checks. But we said it's not how we're going to do it. We want to start writing checks.
Yeah.
So I think we probably gave away last year, uh, with all of our giving, almost 100 grand. Okay, so that
Wow.
was that was 40, 45, 43 to $45,000 to our church. And
Wow.
again, that's an aside, but in
Wow.
addition to that, probably almost another 50 grand worth of money we gave out.
Mhm.
So Generous shows owes me. But
Yeah.
it's not about the money, but it's all
Right.
about the money, right?
Not
Because we
about the
want to
money,
keep
but it
this
is.
is
Yeah.
but it is this is it's the axiom of what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
So we're able to so what you're asking is how much per bag.
Yeah.
The reality is
Just what
the,
people
the
are getting.
reality is uh, a few dollars, $3, $4, $4, $5. It really depends.
Yeah.
Some organizations we gave away 100%, but it was really more than 100% because they didn't pick up the cost of the travel, the fuel,
Hmm.
the hotels. So if we go to an event and we sell, like literally, we drive to an event, there's probably on that bag of coffee, there's probably about a $4.60 margin
Okay.
of value. So if I go out to an event and I sell 100 bags, technically there's $460 worth of margin, right?
Hmm.
I might travel to, again, just trying to build a picture here, travel from Iowa to Mississippi, or to Memphis rather, to Memphis to do this event, only sell 50 bags, but I give $6,000 over the course of a year. The numbers don't add up because it's
Right.
God's money. And so technically we give way more than 100% because we haven't received even a portion of the even a marginal portion of it back.
Yeah.
We like to tell people we will give you 90% of what we make at the event.
Mm.
You don't have to pick up the hotel, you don't have to pick up the fuel, you don't have to pick up the restaurant. We'll travel there on our dime,
Hmm.
an hour dime. So we'll pay the hundreds of dollars for gas, hundreds of dollars for hotel. We'll pay for the coffee that's in the carafe. We'll pay for the cups, the sugar, everything like that. From one bag of coffee, there might be $4.60.
Hmm.
We'll give you 90% of the $4.60. So technically, maybe 90% of that. But really, it's more like if I was to back out all of those expenses. Does that make sense? If I was
I
to
think
back
so.
out
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
the expenses, it would be like a negative. They would have to owe me money,
Right.
So
Right. Right. So
so
you're
yeah,
so somebody comes and gets a subscription every week, every 2 weeks, whatever. That each bag they're basically buying from you all, at least a few dollars of what they're paying is going to pro Christian,
something,
pro.
something, yeah,
Yeah.
pro Christian, pro law enforcement, pro. We gave out $6,000 of $6 or $8,000 worth of coffee just to coffee, or just to police stations around the Des Moines area.
Okay. Wow.
Thousands and thousands and thousands. Again, that comes out of our pocket. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that's the kind of the neat thing about this. This provides money, but really the company still is in debt, and yet
Hmm.
at the same time we're still writing checks. So there's only one way to make that up. Number one is God. Number two is my family, and it's not me. People say, "Are you generous, Joe?" I'm not generous, Joe. My kids have more generosity in their little finger than most people have in their entire, you know, being. It's just they're
Yeah.
so generous, and so is my wife. I mean, much more generous than I am. So here's what I'm saying: is that yes, 90% will go, 50% will go, 100%, but
Yeah.
oftentimes a lot more than that because we just keep writing checks out of our own pocket
Yeah.
to keep giving to people. That makes sense.
No, and that's great. I mean, I think that's something that the other thing that I see, and I could be wrong because I'm only me. I'm not everybody else, of course. That'd be weird. But um,
Yeah, right.
that a lot of people kind of when you go into this space, right? You know, like I
Yeah,
want to be generous. I want our company's not just because nobody starts a company to lose money, right? That's no doubt, right? You go to a job, you're not going there for free or paying. That would be like slavery, right? Like I work for you. This whole big economy of this massive amounts of trillions of dollars that is exchanged, and all these different industries and everything like that. Nobody works for free, right? And nobody is
right.
certainly generally paying for something unless they're going to get something out of it, maybe an internship or something. So for when people enter this sphere, though, like what you guys are doing, hey, this is
Yeah,
a separate thing. It's not my main thing. My
yeah.
name happens to be Joe, Generous Joe, Joe, Cup of Joe, right? Uh, People get, and I could be wrong, but I think I am right. That people get more critical, like, oh,
Absolutely do.
so how much money is really going? Are you really lying? Because it's like, well, Starbucks isn't giving any money to any pro-life causes, right? Coffee
Yeah,
Bean on the West Coast, there, many people know it probably. Same thing. You name it, go down the list. Folgers probably is owned by some of these big giant
yeah,
conglomerates,
yeah,
Unilever, whoever, right? Some of these. There's only a few companies. I love those like pie charts you see, and there's kind of all these graphs outward. And
yeah,
there's only a handful of really, really big companies in the world that really
yeah,
own those things. And they're not critical of Starbucks. They might still go there and roll their eyes and okay, pride or whatever. Okay, fine, give me my frappuccino and
mm,
leave. But as soon as you kind of enter
mm.
this sphere,
That's right.
you get this too. Do you?
Oh,
What is your
dude,
answer to those
yeah,
folks who are like,
dude, I don't.
you're just using this? Da, 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 da. What do you got?
You know what? I don't care about them. I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time to deal
Amen.
with that negativity.
Yeah.
You know
Okay.
what? Here's the thing. I did a post the other day. I had one of my haters say, something about giving, and I said, shut up. When you give more than you make, you come talk to me, and then you let me know.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. You say publicly, I'm willing to show you my tax returns.
Yeah.
Look at the tax returns. Look at the tax return. Look how much I made versus how much I gave.
Yeah.
And you say, well, I mean, I'll show you. I could pull up right now. I gave $43,000 to my church last year on one giving statement. That's just my giving statement.
Wow.
You know how much money I made last year? $0. $0. I mean, honestly, it's like, how did we do that?
Yeah.
Not to mention, we put $120,000 into Generous Joe's.
Hmm.
So you say to people, you give almost, I almost gave almost over 90 grand last year.
Wow.
They say, oh, he's bragging about his giving. He's bragging about his giving.
Right. Right. Right.
But then if you don't
You
say
can't win
anything,
either way. Yeah.
then if you that's right, I don't care about those.
Yeah.
Then it's like, well, if you don't say anything, it's like he doesn't even show his tax returns. And then if you showed him his tax returns, then what were they going to do? It's like, well,
Yeah.
he's bragging. It's like, whatever, dude. I don't have time for that negativity.
Well, it's just, I mean, it's just like Christ, I mean, John is, the Baptist is not eating or drinking, right? He's out in the wilderness doing his John the Baptist-y prophet thing. And then Jesus is eating and drinking, and they condemn both, right? The
Yeah,
elites, the Pharisees, they condemn both. Jesus is a drunkard and a friend of sinners, whereas John isn't, but I'm paraphrasing, completely forgetting the
I
whole
get it.
verse, but you
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter, and people do this politically all the time.
that's right.
And we won't
And
get into all
here's
that, but it's just like,
here's here-
guys,
here's
come on.
something. Yeah, here's something too. You know what? And we've decided this a long time ago, my wife and I. And we if they cannot if they can't find something to discredit you, they're
Hmm.
just going to lie about you.
Yeah,
I mean, that's all it is.
yeah,
So
that's true.
sometimes, whatever, dude. I got
Yeah,
better things to do with my time. I'm going to keep writing checks. I'm going to keep attending events. I'm going to keep hiring students, and
yeah,
I'm going to keep winning because our family is a family of winners. That's what we do. We win. We win
yeah,
all the time. We win all the time. all the time.
Yes.
Matter of fact, I'm not sure of the last time that we actually, as a family, lost. And
Mm,
I'm not trying to brag. I'm just saying God has given us a measure of success in our life. So at some point, it's like, I don't care whatever, dude.
yeah.
Those naysayers, all they do is create negative energy. And I don't mean to be philosophical here, but the bottom line is negativity breeds negativity,
Yeah.
and success breeds success. And I want to surround my people, or surround my people, or surround my people. Yeah, I want to surround myself and my people with people who are uplifting and encouraging, and are winners too.
Yeah.
Dude, there's negatives. There's, every liberal out there can try to, the liberals and the wokes and the cancel culture, all those folks, they pick apart the character of those people who have high character,
Yeah.
because character matters to them.
Yeah.
But if those people with high character pick apart the other side, it doesn't matter, because they don't care.
Right.
So at some point, you got to say, dude, let them say what they want. I mean, I'm still going to write checks,
Yeah.
and no matter what I do, no matter what I say, I can't win with them, because if they can't find something, they'll make it up.
Yeah.
Whatever.
No, and that's a really good point. I mean, again, we could talk politics as far as how that happens and has been
Yeah,
happening since 2016, probably before that for sure. But
that's
most
right.
recently with Trump and Biden and Hillary and Obama and this
Yeah,
and that and all these people. But we don't need to go through there because people already hear it all the time. So,
yeah.
um, is there anything else you want to add as far as just overall how people can? I mean, obviously, Growth Reading Center. I'll pull up the websites one more time, growthreadingcenter.com, and then it's this shop Generous Joe's or Generous Joe's, right? It just kind of does it turn to,
Yeah, it's shopgenerousjoes.org, or generous joes, or yeah, it's shopgenerousjoes.com, or, well, they both go to the same place. If you go
right,
to
right,
if
right.
you go to if you go to generousjoes.com, you'll get some, I think, a Philly shop out in some other state or something. It's like a sandwich shop or
Yeah,
something.
generousjoes.org is, and then it kind of takes you to, there's a shopping, like a separate, I see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I got it.
correct.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, through
okay.
Shopify. Yeah, here's what I would say. I would say this. I would say that we're going to enter a time, and I think we are right now. And uh, I'm not worried about China or Russia. I'm not worried about Iran. You know who I'm worried about? I'm worried about our country, because a house divided against itself cannot stand.
Hmm.
And so what's going to happen is if I was China and Russia, I'd just say, like, dude, don't worry about them. They're going to destroy themselves.
Well,
Their
yeah,
country
we could talk
will
all day.
destroy
I got my
their
theories, but yeah,
oh, dude, their country will destroy themselves. We will
yeah,
literally destroy ourselves. We're eating ourselves from the inside.
yeah,
It's one person pitting themselves against another. And honestly, it's a whether that is artificially or synthetically kind of created in order to pit each other against themselves, I don't know. Probably is. But I tell you what, we're at kind of like a point in our life that if we don't start creating companies that are parallel to that liberal woke kind of cancel culture ideology, we're just going to be at their mercy.
yeah,
And honestly, whether it's Generous Joe, you mentioned this dime payment processing. You had mentioned that, and which is interesting because we were actually thinking about creating our own payment processing system.
mm,
It's we were, it's like, hey, listen, it's only going to run us a couple hundred grand, to get started. How long would it take? Take a couple years, did some research, maybe 500 or a million out the door. But
yeah,
then we could just be a payment processor. We could be the PayPal, you know. So
yeah,
but at some point in time, we're at their mercy if we don't start creating a kind of that parallel type economy where we are servicing ourselves. I mean, I don't know. This is StreamYard. I don't know anything about them, but I mean, who knows anything about them? Maybe they could cancel us too, and now we
yeah,
don't have any video conferencing. I mean, at
right,
some point in time, you have to have people with some really strong beliefs about our economy and about who we are as a culture, based on Judeo-Christian values and principles, and how do we keep exalting God in all of this. And I think there needs to be more companies out there. Matter of fact, I've even talked to some friends of mine, like, why isn't there like localized, uh, kind of like Craigslist or localized Facebook pages where you could go to and say, hey man, I want a Christian to do my roofing.
yeah.
I want a Christian to do my painting. I want a Christian to do my tutoring. I want a Christian to do,
I think some of
XYZ. And
that
you can look at this
exists.
list.
I think there are
Some of
some
it
things.
does.
Red Balloon is it was at this conference I was at, Fight Laugh Feast recently. down in Knoxville, and yeah, he started about a year ago, and he was in higher up, and he got fired because he was too conservative. He was at some big Fortune 500 type company in the HR department,
Yeah.
blah blah blah, and he was like, I want to kill HR, and it was a really nice, friendly guy, and they have job boards, and so I think some of that exists, but I get what you're saying there. It's not ubiquitous within the church because there's so much faction and division, and there's so many things like, well, he's this or she's that, or well, they're a denomination, and whatever. And I think a lot of people, we are starting to overlook some of that, especially if you're on the younger side,
Yeah.
where you think, listen, we're going to disagree about, Romans 9 or Genesis 1 or something like that. You have your convictions, great. Do you love Christ? Yes. Is he king? Yes. Is the scripture God's word? Yes. Is the family important? Is freedom important? Are
Yeah.
these things, does God give real responsibility? Does he tell us to proclaim the truth and live for him? Yes. All right, let's shake hands, let's hug, whatever, and let's
Yeah.
build and work and not be this kind of hovel hole, like sort of, holy huddle,
Yeah.
whatever, and go and, and said it a couple of times at the conference, go slay dragons, go take
That's
these
right.
things out. And why not, David and Goliath, imagery sort of thing. So
Yeah.
anyway, no, that's good.
Well, we got to do what we can to support each other. And
Yeah,
not everybody at every company in corporate America is bad.
right. Of course.
I think that there's a lot of great people in those fields,
Yeah.
and there are some companies that, while they're not so dogmatically proclaiming a belief, but I think that as a Christian, we've kind of been quiet too long
Uh-huh.
because we're trying to be kind, and we're trying to turn the other cheek.
Hmm.
But the Bible says that there is a time to be silent, and then there's a time to speak up.
Hmm.
And I think if we're not speaking up now, there's going to come a day when we can't speak any longer.
Yeah.
And so we have to do what we can. We have to be kind and civil, but at the same time, we have to build brands that are going to honor the Lord, and then share those brands with others that are going to then support the people who we care about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's really good. Where can people find you besides obviously the two websites? You mentioned Facebook. You guys on social media, Twitter, all that?
Yeah. We've got several social media platform, or Facebook, and I think we're on Instagram, and I don't do
Okay.
much on Twitter.
Yeah.
But we're I've got, I think I have like 8 email addresses, so I'm sure you can find an email address somehow. One of my
Yeah.
assistants will grab it and let me know. But yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, man. We're always here.
Okay. Well, I'll coordinate, put some of those in the description down below for
Sure. Yeah.
everybody to check y'all out too. So, well, I
Yeah. Come on.
appreciate the talk, Joe. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely for the audience, go check out these two companies. And you mentioned a few other things you're looking at doing in the future, and really just serving Christ, trying to be a
That's
good
right.
steward of the money, because it's something we all have to have, right? We all eat, we all have to go to the bathroom, we all have to sleep, we all have money. Like there's certain things. It's like these are basic human things that
Yep.
we currently have. God uses, and we can either do them well. We can use the hammer well, or we can use the hammer poorly. It's just a tool like
Yeah.
anything else. So I appreciate the
Yeah.
conversation, Joe.
Yeah,
You
man.
have a great day. Okay.
Okay. Thanks so much, buddy.
God bless.